You've seen the work we put in and day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and exposing poor breeding practices. Ugh. We spent years researching, studying, and applying real-world experiences to perfect the art of science of breeding. Why? Because you deserve the best, most accurate information out there. But to keep this mission alive and growing, we need your support. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection live show, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our content. It may seem small, but every like, every subscriber, and every share helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, maintain, and improve high-quality strains. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others discover the power of true breeding, help push this channel to the top. Like, subscribe, and share. Together we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy. And I'm here with my wife Nancy and my co-host Frank Bradley. And this is the Friday edition, and I'm going to do my very best. I've been yawning all night. Matter of fact, Frank couldn't see it, but so I ate late. Now I'm in a food coma, and I'm fighting it so bad. So what's up, Frank?
But you're in a food coma, and I burnt my sinuses and mouth up with salsa earlier. So that was a bad thing to do to come on the show right before that. But it said mild, but I think somebody forgot to take the seeds out of the salsa and the jalapenos. So I'm really feeling it. So I apologize ahead of time.
Okay, what's your issue, Nancy? We all have to have an issue. Can't be
My nose is runny. I can't tell he's cold. I don't know.
That's my biggest problem right now.
I'm fine. I told Kenny because tomorrow, okay, I'm jumping ahead for a second there, Kenny. Tomorrow we're going to a chicken show. And I told Kenny because I was feeling kind of icky during the beginning.
I don't want to hear it.
And I told him, I go, I don't care if I'm on my deathbed. I'm going to be there and I'm going to give it 110%. Because he's like, you got to get better. You got to be well. You got to make it. Like, stop stressing me out. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll take some
it's more like, okay, here we go again.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So we are going to a poultry show in Paris, California. So I hope you guys come out, and I'd love to meet you. It's the Southern California Poultry Club and Poultry Show. It's Saturday, November 22nd. We're going to be there, rain or shine, no matter how we feel. I should be awake by then. And as far as the video equipment, will depend on the weather, because it looks good so far, although it's raining pretty good right now. And because we're hoping to cover the poultry show, and meet a lot of people, do some interviews with certain people, and try to get together as fast as we can, depending on Nancy. And then we'll share it with you guys.
Do you have the banner that shows where it's at in the address that we had for Monday?
No, I don't.
You took that off, you little
stink. No, I never. It's in a different folder. You didn't tell me to bring it up. So, well, yeah, we do hope to meet you there. So come over and say hi to us. The first few people that show up, we'll have books for you. We're only going to bring so many, but try to meet us as soon as possible, and we'll give you a book. We're going to have some English versions and Spanish versions. Should be a pretty good show, about 700 birds plus a Gamefowl class. We're going to have an egg show, auction. The APG will be there. So I'll be talking with those guys over there as well. And if you're interested in signing up for the APG, it's a good time to do it. Nancy, you got something here in green. Did you want to talk about something?
Yes, I do. But hold on a second. So guys, if you're interested in going to that show, Monday show passed, we did a whole show on it. And we talked to a couple of the judges, and they let us know everything about the show. So if you're interested in going, go back to Monday live Bred to Perfection podcast show and check it out. It has the address, the time, everything. So there you go. All right. So when was it? Yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I was editing a show for Kenny, and I came across this part, and I was a little bit confused, and I'm going to read it off to you what the part. This is what Kenny said. Okay. You got to make sure you're breeding to the dominant side as much as possible. Recessive, it doesn't matter. You can breed whatever. So if you're selecting them properly, you're increasing or improving the gene frequency of both traits. You're going to get to a point when they're predictable and repeatable, and that's the name of the game. And then so I turned to Kenny, paused and I turned to Kenny, I said, like, yeah, but aren't recessive traits harmful traits? And you said?
Well, I said all harmful traits are recessive, but not all recessives are bad, right?
Yes, you did.
I don't remember the conversation that well. But
the conversation was, I was a little bit confused where you were saying the recessives don't matter. I'm like, what do you mean the recessives don't matter? Because recessive genes are the bad traits, the bad genes, right? And that's when you made it clear to me, like, no, all bad genes are recessive traits, but not all recessive traits are the bad genes.
I'm trying to remember why I said not that the recessives don't matter. So I may need to. See, that's where having more context to the story would help. So I'm sure.
Was it in a question? Maybe.
I don't know.
No, I don't remember what was said before that. It was a show that we had done a while ago. In fact, Frank was in it.
Well, as far as our podcasts, we're 6 months behind.
Yeah.
So this one here won't come out for 6 more months.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the podcast side of it, that's how things are going right now.
Yeah.
So,
but my main point of it all is that I was under the inclination that all bad genes are your recessive.
I remember
genes.
telling you that not all recessives can be bad, because a lot of traits are recessive, like straight comb and green leg and things like that. And just because they're recessive doesn't mean they're bad. But I can't think of any traits that are bad or harmful or deleterious that are dominant, or not very many, because they'd be really simple to get rid of, you know, and that's the whole thing. So, yeah, I would need more context for the whole thing. So,
well, that was my main point, is that I had an inclination about recessive genes, and you corrected me on it. So,
well, I'll say this: there's probably more bad recessive than there are good recessive. How about that?
See, and that was kind of her argument too. It depends on the chicken and the traits that they carry. You know, we always say that you have to understand your breed and what makes up the breed, and what, as far as the traits that they carry, understand the genetic factors of those traits. And some breeds have a lot of dominant traits. Some have a few, but have a lot of recessive. My birds are full of recessive traits. I mean, they're reds, green-legged with, well, they carry the straight comb, but if I wanted, I could easily breed them to the straight comb, you know. So does that mean my birds are bad? You know, and then there's a lot of other traits too that are, you know, considered recessive. But so all I know is if you're good about selecting them and breeding them properly, and whenever you see a defect or deleterious gene, you work either select away from it, cull it, and get to a point where they're not expressing it anymore, then you're good to go. Then the recessive gene isn't an issue. I think it might have been one of those stories that we covered that whereas if you're trying to, I'm trying to remember how it went, like to get them, how was it? Like in some cases you want, I know, for potency and mitochondrial DNA and all that, you want them to be as homozygous dominant as possible. Will they completely be like that? No, it's just a matter of getting as many of the traits homozygous as you can, because then you're going to get better potency. I think that might have been what it was about. Does it sound familiar, Nancy?
Yeah. And my like I said, my biggest thing is like, ooh, recessive genes, bad.
I know what a lot of people think that way. When they hear recessive, they think it's always bad. And that's not really the case, you know.
Well, what I was getting at was not in the bird itself, but as a whole. There's more probably bad recessives than they are good recessives as they exist. If you sit down and count them, they would probably be more bad ones than good ones
that could exist.
Yeah, that's possible. Well,
let's put it this way: there's 22,000 genes in a chicken. So, you know,
that's why it's not a ballpark day in the park when you breed them.
No, but can you make a recessive gene a dominant? Can you turn it?
No.
So once it's recessive, it's recessive.
It's recessive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot less than right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, but here's the deal: is 2 copies of the recessive make it homozygous. Okay. But all you need is 1 copy of the dominant for it to be expressed.
Yep. Same way with my whites that I've got the sports. You only need 1 copy of it for the offspring to come white. But with recessive, you got to have 2.
Well, it's true with recessive. Well, okay. As far as, say that again, Frank. I was
with
thinking
a dominant white.
Yeah.
That I have.
Yeah.
You can take and breed that to a red bird.
Yeah.
And still get white offspring. With a recessive, it's not always like that.
No,
You
it's
have to have
actually the other way
two
around.
copies. Yeah.
If you breed a dominant white to a red, you get piles and splash. You get all kinds of things. If you breed a white to like a recessive white, then you get red. But if you breed two white together that are recessive, then you get the white.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
with mine, I can breed them. The first, say, I've got a sport and a red, and I breed them together. The offspring will be pretty much all white. If I go back again, they may get a little red or black coloring on them. If I go back again, they may be a splash. But the first year that I breed them, they're pretty much white, snow white.
Okay. Oh, okay, because they're dominant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my mind's not all there. I feel like I'm an urge of yawn, and I'm trying really hard to fight it. So
you got to be like me, smile and
lunch.
yawn at the same time.
We got to eat lunch a lot earlier.
What about Spangled?
What about Spangled?
What you were talking about with recessive whites and stuff. Somebody was asking. No.
Recessive white has nothing to do with Spangled. That's a incomplete dominant gene. I always forget what the other gene is, but and then you have the progressive white, which will make them whiter and whiter as you go, which is a huge fault.
Or you can have a recessive and a dominant white.
Well, that's just a dominant white that's not pure for white. Yeah.
But it's still in that category of being both.
Well, it's a heterozygous white, dominant white. Okay, let's move on. My mind ain't
on with the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're trying to do with
today?
That. Well, let me welcome the new members. I appreciate the new members that we're getting. Just understand that there's no dead. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. What's that noise? Is that Tawny out there?
A laughing?
Is that what it is?
He's laughing.
Okay. Okay. Let me start over because this is a podcast too. We're really blowing this one. Okay. I want to welcome the new members. I appreciate the new members that we've gotten this week. Make sure you begin with the Start Here pages. Just understand there's no deadlines, no falling behind, no needing to catch up, no testing. Take your time, get to know the website. For those who are thinking about becoming a member, just join us at the Breeders' Academy. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Once you join, you're going to have instant access to the website. You have access to the Founders Program, the Masterclass videos, programs and courses, the complete collection of podcasts and live shows, all the daily articles, and we have experts like Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, Dr. Gallardo, and we do coaching calls. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Trust me, that's going to sound much better in the podcast when I put music to it. Okay.
And for those of you that are watching us live, you can scan that QR code right there, and it'll take you straight to the Breeders' Academy. Make it nice and easy for you.
Okay, this is going to be a fun one because, and we might have, I don't know if we've ever done an episode on this, Frank. I know we've covered it sort of along with other episodes here and there, but the science and strategy of disease-resistant fowl, building a bulletproof bloodline. Because if you can get your birds to the point when they're not affected by disease and nothing affects them, there's nothing better in the world. You know, I would say that strain's like priceless.
And they exist. In today's times, there's proof of that. Yeah, it's no matter what you pretty much expose them to, they just go right through it, don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Now, with me, I'm big on biosecurity within disease resistance as on your yard, as it exists on your yard, to let the offspring be born and raised there. And that way they evolve into the diseases that remain on your yard. Because I don't care whose yard you go on, if it's got chickens, there's disease there of some sort. Maybe not as much as others, but there's still disease there. But what gets everybody is they've got to be dedicated to that and not do the no-nos that you're not supposed to do by bringing other fowl in from the outside. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. There's no end to it. Then we're back on medications, treating the sick, and that leads to numerous problems.
Yeah. Okay. For my members, I want you to check out the programs and courses on disease resistance inside the website. Also, we have a master's class video with Brian Reeder on disease resistance, which was really good. And this episode here is going to have an article to go with it that I wrote on disease resistance. And it's so funny because when I wrote the article and put it all together, I was like, wow, this is going to be really good. I told Nancy, I go, I really want to get all this in because the information is really good. But then I started looking at it and trying to expand and make an outline out of it. I go, oh shit, there's too much here. We're never going to get this in. It's just really good information. So we're going to cover it the best we can. You know me, I like to make a conversation out of things. And so I suggest my members check out the article with this video because you're going to get more information overall, more complete too. And then I plan on it's on my list to do this topic in a master's class video where I'm going to go much deeper and cover it in a much better way, along with illustrations and the whole bit. So make sure you guys check that out. So, what's the benefits of breeding for disease resistance, Frank?
Health.
Yeah. That's
the main goal of it. I never understood it when I was younger. And there was this old man that he was a defense lawyer here in town. And I called him a collector of breeds. He had every breed that you could think of directly from the original breeder. And he had some going back, I mean, way, way back. Bloodlines that strains you never even heard of in today's times. But, that was his hobby. It's what he loved. And he had a farm, probably 1,500, 2,000 chickens at a time. He'd have numerous farms. And, I was on the farm one day and I'd go down and help him with what he needed to do, dubbing stags or whatever. And there was this big, what they called the log cabin Sis, the big black, beautiful stag was there. And I'd been a sucker for years for black chickens anyway. And I said, Ed, I want that chicken. And he said, go on and get him, take him home with you. So I got him, took him home, and I put him in a holding pen. And before I put him out on my yard. And I went out a few days later and he had these big yellow blisters all over his combs, inside of his mouth. And I knew right then it was wet pox. So I went on and I culled the bird. So it goes on a couple days later and I was back down to his farm and he said, I was telling him, I said, I had to cull that stag. He said, you culled it? I said, yeah. He said, what for? Got all agitated. I said, it broke out with wet pox. It wasn't dry pox. It was wet pox. It was in his mouth, all over his comb, because he had a huge comb anyway. And he went off on me.
Really?
I mean, he literally went off on me. And I said, and I was young at the time, and I said, listen, I'm not going to sacrifice one chicken, over my whole yard. I'm just not going to do it. He was the type that relied on, you had to medicate them. Yeah, you had to medicate them. You had to take care of them, just like you did your dogs or anything else. Had to worm them, all that stuff. But even then, Kenny, I was against that. I always seen sickness, even though it was pox, as a weakness. Now, to me, and we've said this a million times, went down the other birds, 2 birds out of all those he had, and they was probably 50 or 60 of them, was the only ones that had that problem. The rest of them were fine, didn't have a bit of problem. So why did those 2 have problems when the other majority of them didn't? So, that's what I was asking myself even back then. And I tried to manage my flock that way, but you had these older guys that you looked up to that thought, you thought you knew what they was talking about, telling you totally the opposite. So it's like, you try to do the right thing, but you got people that wants to change your mind that's influenced in your decisions. So I can see the dilemma about it, why people has a problem with it.
We still have that problem today. Everybody thinks they need medications. And I felt the same. I was the same way. I mean, I followed the trend where I was using medications too. I had every medication you could think of. And when I look back at the birds I had at the time, very seldom did I have a bird that was well or not sick. Yeah. I always had some birds that were sick or had been sick in the past, and I tell the story all the time where Tony came over and threw them all away. all my medications, threw right in the trash can, and told me to start breeding towards resistance, breed to the healthy, get rid of the sick. And that was a big shock to me because it took a while. Not only did I have to trust him, and I did, I trusted Tony. It's one of the few people I did trust, especially at that time. And so I just did what he said, kept just breeding to the healthy. Anything that got sick, I just kept getting rid of. And it just felt like for quite a few years there that I was getting rid of most of my birds. I remember getting rid of whole clutches of chicks and the hen because they just weren't well. And it felt like I struggled for a while. Then all of a sudden I started seeing it get better and better to the point when I wasn't having sick chickens. And to this day, except for pox once in a while, I don't really see sick chickens anymore. You know, it would really shock me if I saw something sick out there. So one of the biggest things is getting rid of disease. You don't have to deal with sick chickens. And in some yards, it's not always getting rid of sickness completely. It's actually seeing a milder form of sickness for a while, but getting rid of all those medications, all the vaccinations, okay? Getting rid of all the wormers, those kind of things. And it can be really tough for a while, but when you start to see the progress, you know how many people that I've worked with, especially inside the Breeders' Academy, that they said to me, Kenny, I hope you know what you're doing. I hope you're right. And I'm going to do what you said. And then they come back to me a year or so later and say, wow, I did what you said. It really worked. The birds are the healthiest I've ever seen them. I trusted you, and it was true. And then I get some people saying that without the medications, they would die, which is a really poor place to be. You know, that's telling me you got really weak chickens. And we hear this all the time, like places in the Philippines where they're saying without the medications, they would die. And then I get people in the membership that are from the Philippines who do what I tell them to do. And guess what? They're able to get rid of the medications and their birds are stronger for it. You know, so don't tell me because of where you live, you need the medications, because I'm not seeing evidence of that. If you need the medications, you have a really weak flock. If you have a family, you got a really weak family, and you've got to start doing something about it right now.
What I've found in my experience, Kenny, is they have to be genetically healthy. That's a must. But even if they're genetically healthy and you're not giving them the caregiving and the right nutrition that they deserve, you're still going to have sick chickens. They've got to have a good nutritional and care to stay healthy. You can take a bird that's bred the best in the world and he's not fed and taken care of right, and you put him in a condition to where with another infectious bird, he's going to get sick or she's going to get sick. But it's the hold. It's that three-legged stool that we always talk about.
Yeah,
it's a must.
Well, the way I look at nutrition is, yes, I think it's important. And without nutrition, your immune system tends to drop.
Yep.
As we all know, when we're not eating well, not taking care of ourselves, not exercising, our immune system drops and we get sick. So that, to me, that's where nutrition comes in. It's not about stimulating the feed. It's not overstimulating, giving them supplements that make them better than they were. Just giving them a nice complete feed so their body isn't struggling to stay well when the weather comes down and then drops their immune system, and then they get sick, because then you got a weak chicken. So yeah, the three-legged stool is really important. That's how we guide. That's our guidance to epigenetics and how we use the factors of epigenetics to properly select our birds. And we break it down into the environment and how we manage them. Okay. Nutrition's one of them, and health. So, and then the third one would be genetics and how you select them. And if you're missing any one of those and you're not doing them properly, you're gonna have a breakdown. It's like the stool. If you're missing one leg or part of the leg, it's gonna fall over. So if you follow those criteria, and you do your best on all three legs, you're gonna have and that's your selection process, by the way. You're gonna have a healthier strain. And as far as the genetics, it's funny, when we're breeding towards disease resistance, it's a genetic thing. You know, it's the disease resistance factor is a polygenic I'm not wording that right, but it's polygenic, meaning it's not one trait, it's multiple traits. And so to breed for higher resistance, we want to select for the complete package of the bird. We want to select the birds that not only were healthy, but never got sick. Because if we're breeding to birds that were that got sick and then they got well, then that's acquired immunity. We want natural genetic immunity resistance, and that comes from locating the birds that were feeding out of the same feeders as the other birds, drinking out of the same water, raised in the same pens, and they never get sick. Those are the birds we actually want to breed to. But because it's polygenic, it takes a lot of time. It's not going to happen fast. It's going to happen over many generations, and you got to be willing to be patient, be willing to cull the birds that get sick, only breed to the ones that are healthy, and little by little, your strain will get to the point when they are resistant to disease. So, but just if you understand the genetic factors and how to select them, and how to, because you select monogenic traits different than polygenic traits, if you understand that, then you can make progress. It just understand it takes time.
So, Kenny, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So does that mean that it's as simple as culling all your sick birds and don't breed to your sick birds, get your sick birds off of your yard, and eventually the genetics of the good, healthy birds that never get sick will flood your yard. That's all you'll end up with. And then you can go from there. Then you've developed that genetic, I'm not even saying it right.
I'm going to forget
the
what
inheritable, the inheritable genetics that you're looking for.
Okay. I just forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
It's no different than selecting for conformation or any other trait that you're selecting for. If you select for health and vigor, you get more birds with health and vigor to come.
If you have sick birds, you eliminate them. You want to get them out of the gene pool. You want to get that genetics out of your family. Okay. I don't want to say that selection and culling is the only thing. Starting with the best birds possible is big, because if you're starting with birds with a lot of faults, they're always sick. Okay. They're relying on those medications. It's going to take you a long time to get there. And if they're really sick and have a lot of weakness, then you may never get there, because you're not going to find any birds that were resistant or healthy enough to keep going forward. Because eventually you got to get to the point when you're not using the medications anymore. So many farms are relying on those medications, and their excuse is, well, I just have too many birds. There's just no way to do it. Actually, I actually think you have probably the best selection anybody has, because you've got more birds to work with. You just got to take the time to find the ones, maybe with a little bit of record keeping, to find the ones that just didn't get sick. Those are the ones you want to move forward with, but there's just too many people reliant. We say it all the time, Frank. If they stop the medications, we'd find out how weak their strain actually is.
Yep. And the thing about it is, if you go to a yard to where they're medicating, and I'm 1,000% serious on this, I'm just not saying it. If you go to a yard and you show me a breeder that's using medications, antibiotics to keep their birds alive, and they're always seeing sickness on the yard, they're having problems keeping them alive, they rely on medications alone, they're failing in one of the three or all of the stools, what Kenny just mentioned. But I always said it, let your whole feed be your medication. Get away from the medication. Use a good feed as your medication, because a trait can only be pushed to its full potential with the benefits of a good feed and breeding. You never know what that bird's full trait will be if he's not maintained and fed a proper feed.
Well, if you get rid of the medications and you're caring for them and feeding them properly, you're going to see where they're at. And that's the first indication of that's going to show you what you need to do. So I'm okay with, you say you get a family of birds. I'd rather buy birds that weren't relying on medications. And sometimes you have to ask the breeder, what is he medicating with and what's the issues they're dealing with? If he's honest with you, you may have to medicate him the way he does for just a short period, just to get birds on the ground. But I'm telling you, get rid of those medications vaccinations as fast as you can so that you can start working towards true disease resistance, because those medications and vaccinations, wormers, supplements, all that, it's just hiding the fault. You're hiding the weakness. And how can you improve them? How can you select them properly when you're not seeing the true bird? I need to know what they are. And I would be okay if I got a trio. I'll do what I can to keep that trio alive, but get some birds on the ground and maybe not medicate those, because let me start seeing what's there. What do I have to work with? What's going to, am I going to have a family to work with and actually create a strain from? And out of them, if you hatch enough birds, and maybe you might lose a lot of them, hopefully there's going to be a few that are actually going to survive. Those are the ones you want to move forward with right there, so.
Well, Kenny, there's a reason we mentioned that we breed as close to Mother Nature as possible, because that's what Mother Nature does.
Yeah.
She takes out the weak and only the strong prevail. And as selective breeders, that's what we have to do. We have to do away with the weak and sick and only breed the healthy, standout birds that we've got. And then the next thing you know, it's tough. I know when I first started doing this, it was always the birds that I had my eye on from a chick up. And they would fall sick, get a disease or something, and I'd be like, oh, crap, I wanted that bird so bad,
Yeah.
But you live through that to breed another day. But I promise you, and Kenny will tell you the same thing, it gets better with time. Yeah, it's hard in the beginning because you're culling birds that you really don't want to cull, but it's a must. It's a have to in order to get it to where they become pretty much resistant to their environment, to where you're not seeing any sick bird. I've not had a sick bird on my yard in years.
Yeah.
In years.
Yeah.
But I had to do the hard part. It took me 2 or 3 years to get on a line to where I was seeing a difference. But man, when I did, it's great. You turn them out, you free range them, you feed and water them, you put them, you cage them up, you put them in the pen. They live a nice, healthy life. They're no medicine, no sickness. And that medicine alone, I'm sorry, but some of that stuff, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And you take all that medication, just expense alone a year, that's a lot of money put back in your pocket alone, plus having a great, healthy family.
Yeah. There's a number. Okay. To understand, how do I want to say this? To understand the diseases that are out there, so that you can determine how to deal with them. The way I broke it down was infectious diseases, like some of the, let me say this first though. The diseases that are out there that we want to especially breed towards resistance are the most common ones. I'm not saying go get your birds. Like they say that you can't build an immunity to something you haven't been exposed to. Brian likes the idea of, opening the windows, opening the doors, expose them to this and that, and I have it written down here. I'm gonna use it here in a second.
I can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's
I
like take them to the show, get them exposed, But I don't say do that. Just get them at least, resistant to the diseases that are in your area. You know what I mean? And we're talking about the most common diseases: Marek's disease, coccidiosis, MG, mycoplasma, coryza, bronchitis, those kind of things. If you can get them at least resistant to those, then you're going to be fine. Then there's parasites. Parasites cause all kinds of disease, from lice, mites, and worms. You can actually build a resistance to lice, mites, and worms. That's why we always tell people, don't overworm your birds. I'm okay with you worming them, every 6 months, maybe. I'd rather you not worm them all, or maybe once a year. Fine, if you feel like you need to do it, but don't worm them. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, worm them again, trying to kill everything. Okay. Because they need at least some worms in them to build the resistance, to build an immunity to those worms. This idea of worming your birds every 2 weeks is crazy. Even 1 month is crazy, So I want some worms, as long as they're not infested. I don't see them coming out of the vent. They're not losing weight. They're looking lethargic. If I don't see the effects of worms on my birds and they're really active and healthy, I'm not worming them. Frank, I haven't wormed my birds in got to be 15. I remember I was telling you when we first started the show 5 years ago, it was 15 years. It's got to be like 20 years or more the last time I wormed my birds.
It's been over a decade for me now. I'm talking about, I might run natural homemade stuff through them, like Kenny's talking about every few months. But here's the thing. I have never, in the last decade, I have not used a synthetic wormer whatsoever. I have not. And you could go to any bird on my yard and pick it up, and you won't find a thin bird. Now, you might find one a little hefty on the heavy side, but you'll never find one that's malnourished or skinny, say the least. But that's what I want to add to that other part. Was the external parasites. I mentioned if you go the farms you go to, that's medicating, worming, and having to dust their birds down because all of them's got mites.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, there's something bad wrong with those chickens. Either they're not being taken care of, they don't have the right nutrition, or the right genetics, or all the above. But I haven't had a mite on one of my. I haven't had mite slice on my birds, and I couldn't tell you when. I couldn't remember when.
That's a good point. It's not even on my outline, but that's such a good point. We've talked about it in the past too, where if you got a group of birds in a pen and only one of them is showing, it has a bunch of lice, mites, or maybe it's affected by worms, that bird is definitely weak. There's a genetic weakness going on there. Okay. If the other birds are fine and only that bird's being affected by it, then just cull that damn bird. You know what I mean? And I had that problem where it's funny when I think back at those times. And I remember having to deal with lice and mites and worms. And I was at the time, I was dusting them every so often and trying to deal with it. And it was my friend Doug, who was, I called him my geneticist because he really opened my eyes to how genetics works and stuff like that. And him and I got in a big, a real deep discussion about it because I was telling him I was dealing with some, I had a hen that, well, I had lice and mites in general, but this particular hen was sitting in the nest and she was full of mites. I picked it up and I just had them crawling all over me. But everybody else in the pen was fine. And that's when him and I got into discussion about resistance to parasites, which I didn't even know was a deal. I didn't even know you could do that. And he just kept telling me, just cull the ones that are infected or infested with lice and mites. And if they're wormy, don't worm them. Don't try to save them. Just get rid of them and just keep doing that and breed to the ones that you haven't had any problems with. And you're going to find that your strain is going to become resistant to parasites. And, again, following his suggestion, like I followed Tony's, I was like, well, okay. But I did feel like I was culling some birds that were kind of expensive at the time, you know what I mean? And I really wasn't sure if that was going to work, but I did see it getting less and less to the point where now I haven't dusted birds in years. I can't remember last time I did it. I haven't wormed my birds. I haven't seen lice or mites in my pens at all. So I do believe my birds are resistant to parasites.
Your birds are healthy.
Healthier.
Yep. They're healthy. Yep. We call it resistance. I see it as health, which it's hand in hand.
But it is a genetic resistance.
Oh, yeah. Well, it builds up to it. It builds up to it because I promise you, lice and mites will show up on any yard where there's a weakness in the birds. Yep. And whatever that weakness might be. And I'm going to tell you this. I experienced the same thing that Kenny was talking about. I've had birds before growing up, have them all in a pen, 5 or 6 hens in a pen, get a hen out. She's completely covered it with them. Yep. And the rest of the birds wouldn't have a one on them. Nowhere. But as a hunter, and hunters can relate to me, every animal that I have taken while hunting, and it's only been a few, it's not been that many, rabbits, birds, whatever it may be, the ones that I took while hunting that had fleas or external parasites or internal parasites, I didn't even keep them. They were so emaciated and sick that I wouldn't dare, to eat them. But it showed me that the healthy ones that I was taking while hunting didn't have internal or external parasites whatsoever. The only ones I was ever seeing that had any of that was always the sick, emaciated individuals that I was taking. So that right there in itself proved to me that it could be done in the chickens.
I think bugs are attracted to weak birds.
They are. And
Yep.
it's always been said by scientists, they think that the genetic part of it, the birds put off a pheromone that they're attracted to, and they attach to that bird because they know that bird can fight them off. They won't do it to one that is resistant to it because they know that bird can fight them off of it.
You want to say something, Nancy?
Yeah. So answer me this. So what do you do if your whole flock of Orpingtons have lice or mites?
You breed as many as you can and find the ones that's not showing any of it.
Start by looking for the ones that have it the least. That's how you start.
Okay. So cull the ones that are like completely infested, keep the ones that are less, and then
just keep doing that till you start finding some that are resistant.
Okay.
It's the same thing with any disease. If you have a farm and all your birds are experiencing, they're, coming down with coccidiosis, well, I would start by changing your management, because some of that is management, but still it's all about the loads. And then start finding the birds where you're seeing less and less coccidiosis to the point you're not seeing anymore. A good example of this is might have been 5 years ago now. I had this one hen. She'd always be the first one in each season to start, sitting on the eggs and hatching chicks. And yet she would always lose half her chicks to coccidiosis. Like that kind of feeling, you almost forget what happened each year. But I see coccidiosis right off the bat from that hen. It's the first one of the year. And you're like, oh my God, am I having a issue with coccidiosis now? Am I going to have to start doing something about that?
She was creating
it. She was the one creating it,
Yeah.
And so and then her offspring would do the same thing. And so I got to a point where I was like, I started putting 2 to 2 together. I got rid of her and her offspring, which was a good number of birds. Guess what? Coccidiosis left my yard completely. I never had a problem with coccidiosis since then. So it's locating the weak birds, getting rid of those, and just keep bringing to the healthy ones. But sometimes you have to find the ones here's where I was going with it. If there's a disease that you seem to be experiencing with a good portion of your birds, maybe all of them, then yeah, you just got to select the ones. You got to select the ones that are expressing it the least, and to the point where you don't see it anymore. And then eventually they won't get it anymore, and you breed to those. You just got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? So
I had the same thing, Kenny, with the coccidiosis. And I bred for the resistance, and then I started doing yard management for it. To now, I couldn't tell you when the last time I've had a bird with coccidiosis. I put them up in pens, my young ones, until they feather out. I know they can get on the roost well. And then I turn the mother and the chicks out to let them free range, and I never ever have a problem out of it anymore.
I had a friend of mine who I wouldn't say he was having a huge issue with coccidiosis, but he was talking to me and asking me what he should do, and I told him what to do, like what we're telling you guys here. And he got to the point where he wasn't seeing coccidiosis anymore, and letting me know how it was going. I was like, okay, cool, And then his wife ordered some chicks from the hatchery, and they offered to get them all vaccinated for coccidiosis. And when they do the vaccinations, I think there's like 5 different species
9.
in that.
9.
Yeah, no, there's 9, but in this particular shot, they vaccinate for 5 of them.
Gosh.
Okay. And so obviously he's had coccidiosis in his yard, and they're somewhat immune to them, but the chances of them being immune and resistant to all 5 of the ones that were in that shot. So the birds grew up, they were all healthy and everything from the hatchery. He started mixing them with his birds, and they started, even the older ones, which is uncommon really, started coming down with coccidiosis, and he lost a lot of birds and started freaking out. And I said, you're just going to have to do what you did before. Start all over. Now you're going to have to build a resistance to multiple species of coccidia instead of just the 1 or 2 that you might have been dealing with. And he got there, but he did lose a lot of birds trying to get there. Brian says, if you can find that one bird, I was just thinking about it, just popped in my head. If you can find that one bird that's resistant to everything, that bird's priceless. It's worth its weight in gold. and you could build a family from that bird alone. Even if it's the only bird you have, do what you can to find a mate for it. And his idea is that even if the mate isn't of the same breed, he says go ahead and breed them. If you can find a mate that's resistant as well, breed them together, and then over time you can go back to type. You know, it may not be the proper breed, it may be lacking some things, but that resistance, that disease resistance, that genetic factor is more important than the breed, more important than the traits that it carries or what it's supposed to represent, because you can eventually build a family from that and then take them to whatever direction you want to go. We always say you can mold and sculpt your birds into anything you want. There's no trait more important than health and resistant to disease. That's his thought, you know, really hard to do, especially when you got a pure family or pure, you know, it's a specific breed. And especially if you have one that's a rare one, you almost don't want to do it. But I understand where he's coming from, and it's an option. But I'm just trying to say, if you can find one that's resistant to everything, there's no more important bird on your farm than that one bird.
And I want it to be a hen. I want it to be a hen. I'd rather have a hen. If I had my pick, I want it to be the hen, because more likely it's going to be in her mitochondrial DNA anyway to be that resistant.
Well, it could be. I'm trying to think of, because mitochondrial has a lot to do with the health and vigor and growth and development of the baby chicks, but there are some genes that are related to like resistance that are in the nuclear DNA too. So that helps, you know, but I don't know. Some people say they'd rather have the rooster, and some people they'd rather have the hen. I think even Brian said he'd rather have the rooster. I'm a big fan of the hen. I think mitochondrial DNA is one of the biggest factors, because if you don't have a good hen, you don't have a strain. She's the matriarch of most strains. And she should be, I think. So
I say it all the time. She's the backbone of that family, how I look at it.
Yeah, because you can build. To me, you can. A lot of people say I like going towards the rooster because he has 2 Z factors.
Yeah,
on the chromosomes, but that's sex linkage. That's the genes on the sex link chromosome. That's not that big a deal to me. Okay, I'm worried about the bigger part of the bird, the polygenic side. You know, because we're dealing with more genes, and I don't know. I don't get caught up on genes on the sex chromosome as much as I do the complete bird. And when you're dealing with polygenics, which is very much associated with disease resistance, to me the Z factor doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Which makes the hen more important because of mitochondrial DNA, and the mitochondrial is outside the nucleus. It's its own DNA. So it makes her that much more important. But if you can find a really pure rooster that's healthy and resistant, you know, then you get good potency too. So to me, they both matter, but I'm a fan of the hen all the way.
I had a clutch of chicks hatch the other day, and I got 5 stags and 1 pullet. And Amanda said, "How you know that?" I said, "Well, see the darker ones, the 5 darker ones?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "That's the stags. The little light one, the yellow one, that's the hen." Now, they're all chipmunk, but the lighter one is more like a yellow with a lighter chipmunk. Now, that's always the pullets. The males are real dark chipmunk, you know, a darker color. But those grays, when I put them together to make hybrids, they're sex linked. You can tell automatically as soon as they hatch, as soon as they dry off, you can tell the pullets from the stags.
Yeah. And that's where, to me, sex linkage comes into play, is the earlier you can detect the males from the females, the earlier you can do some selection, or you can separate them, which is a good thing. But the best breeders I knew and know today, they have very sound practices. They stay away from these routine antibiotics. They don't over vaccinate. If they vaccinate at all, it's only because they're dealing with that particular problem. They rarely worm at all. They don't use chemicals like copper sulfate, which is, man, I've never seen it so big as I see it today. Everybody's talking about. Yeah, just and they're not. Go ahead.
Copper sulfate is You feed it. If you buy bag feed, you feed it every day of your life.
Yeah, but it's a little bit.
Micro millions. Okay. They're using micro kabillions. I mean, they're using half an ounce, and they're doing it like every month. But a lot of that, Kenny, is they go around it raining. It's getting the urine and the feces in the mud, and they're dumping their feed down on the ground, and this is getting all over the feed, and the chickens are eating it. And then they get all this bacteria load up in them. They get sick and die. So then they think they've got to use the copper sulfate to run through them to actually save the bird from all those toxins that it's taking in. But if they only knowed what that was doing to the kidneys and the liver every month, they get rid of it. Just take that stuff and put it in a metal bowl for about, I don't know, a couple weeks, and watch what it does to that metal bowl. And that'll it's worse than Coca-Cola could ever be.
Well, like
I was just going to say that. like, okay.
Dr. Gallardo, I was talking to him about, and he says, what the copper sulfate does to the chicken is worse than the disease itself. Yeah. It's basically burning them from the inside out. You know what I mean? You're doing a number on their intestines, for one thing.
Well, and it's not only just basic copper sulfate. They're using acidified copper sulfate, and that's like molten metal in itself going into the body. It erodes the intestines, actually. I read up when you use it as a regimen once a month, it can actually hurt food absorption, cause all kinds of digestion upset. Now, if I had to use it in a have-to case, yeah, I've got no problem with that with curing a bird, but I'm not going to use it for a maintenance thing. You need to fix your problem, and that way you don't have to use the copper sulfate. A lot of people act like the copper sulfate is the new sliced bread, but if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you don't need that stuff.
I used to use it a long time ago when I was younger, because I followed what everybody said, you know what I mean? And no, I learned early on that was not the way to go. So I stopped using it. But I was doing a show with Brian on resistance to disease, which is actually in the website. It's a really good show. It's one of our master's class videos. And Brian was studying under Fred Jeffries, who I think was a geneticist himself, a poultry geneticist. And he wrote a number of books. I think he wrote 3 or 4 books, one on bantams, one on breeding chickens, and some others. And he was telling Brian, throw open the doors, throw open the windows, let the sun in, let the rain in, let the wind in, let all the wild birds in, do everything you can, expose them to disease, and then just cull the sick and breed to the ones that never got sick, and if they get sick, cull them, because even if they recover, you don't want to breed to them, that kind of thing. And so if you want a strong, resistant family, that's almost what you need to do. I'm not saying, Brian was like, take them to the show, expose them.
But it don't work, the best ways. It doesn't work, because if it worked, there was a lot of cockers and other gamefowl people would have.
No, I don't agree with it.
Chickens.
No, he was saying that you take them to the show, or you go get a bird from the auctions or something like that, and you bring them into yours, and then when you take them to the show and you expose them, you get to bring that disease back home with you. And yes, you're going to have a whole bunch of them die, but the ones that survive are going to be stronger than ever. And I told him, Brian, I understand that thought, but I can't get myself to do that. You know what I mean? I don't mind doing everything I can to get them exposed to the diseases that are in my area. We're dealing with this environment here, I have no problem with that. Like once I started learning how this all worked from Doug and some others, it was kind of weird. It's like when I saw a sick chicken, I'm like, oh, good, I get to cull them. You know what I mean? Because I knew that I was getting rid of the weak birds. And anytime I got rid of the weak birds, the strain was getting stronger and stronger as it went. So anytime, I remember times when I said, oh, this whole pen's sick of birds, I get to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Once I understood it changed my attitude about it. And I knew that I was getting rid of the weak birds. I was doing, the environment was taking care of the weakness for me. And then I was just breeding to the healthy. And before you knew it, I had healthy birds. So adopt that idea. If you see a sick bird or a bird with a defect, oh, good, I get to cull them. You know what I mean? Because that bird expressed its weakness. You got a chance to cull it and get it out of your genetics and out of your strain, and it's going to allow you to breed to the healthy. So every time I see a sick bird and I get rid of it, I know I'm making my strain that much healthier.
It makes me feel good.
Yeah, it does.
It's like, it's the same feeling you get like when you build a nice cage or you do something productive or you wash your vehicle and it looks real good, it's the feeling of accomplishment that you get.
It's a cleansing.
Yeah, it is a cleansing.
You've done the right,
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, you've done the right thing for your chickens, to get rid of that weak individual.
Yeah.
Or individuals, whatever it may be.
Go ahead, Nance.
I need to correct you on something because I think people are going to misunderstand what you're saying here. It's not that you want to expose your chickens to everything in your area. Like, okay, hey, Mr. Joe over 2 streets over, you got some sick birds, bring them on over so that my birds can get, accustomed to it. That's not what you're saying at all.
Okay. No, I believe in biosecurity. Okay. I'm not going to purposely expose my birds to something that they're not used to just because.
Because they will get sick.
Yeah.
Healthy or not.
I'm not a big person to let a lot of people on my farm. I've let people here and there on my farm, people I trusted and everything. But it's not a practice of mine to let people on my farm all the time. Whenever I go and someone's like, we're going to go to this show tomorrow. You know me, all those clothes are going to go right into the wash. I'm going right into the shower. Okay.
Yep.
So that's not going to happen.
But I buy Walmart shoes.
But if I have wild birds coming into my farm and exposing my birds to things or rats or whatever it may be, then, so be it. If I lose a bird because of that, then it just showed me it was genetically weak. It didn't have the resistance, to fight whatever that bird brought into my farm. But if I bring someone else's bird onto my farm, or I take a bird off my farm and bring it back, I am quarantining that bird. Yep. And I'm going to make sure that it's not exposing my birds. But that was more Brian's idea, because that's kind of what he was studying. It was part of the things he was doing.
I get what he's saying.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, I get it. It's just not for me.
I told him it ain't for me either. And he goes, no, I understand, because he was looking for disease. He was going down to the auctions and to the swap meets or whatever you want to call them, bringing those diseases home.
Have him come here. I'll hook him up. I'll hook him up fast.
But go ahead.
Here's a thought process. If a chicken gets sick and comes out of the sickness fast without any major symptoms, doesn't that mean its immune system is strong?
And it's probably a carrier, depending on the disease. More likely, if it's respiratory, it's a carrier for the rest of its life. Okay,
its system was able to fight and recover, but it's not genetically resistant to that disease. You want birds that are exposed, that's eating with the rest of them, that's raised with the rest of them, it's drinking out of the same water, and never gets sick.
Okay, then let me put this one up here. It's saying, I've bred mine for 10 years, never vaccinated, only Strong survived from the nuclear side.
Okay.
Strong till this day, a year ago, moved to a different environment, and for a year now, haven't gotten sick.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
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 But I bet they're not bringing birds in. They're practicing good biosecurity.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even though switching spots.
Even, let's put it this way, how was I going to say that? So far, he's lucky. I want to say that. He is in a new environment. Who knows if that will stand? A bird could easily come into his yard that was on someone else's yard, and then all of a sudden they'll get sick. And his birds are going to eventually, so far everything's good. Those birds are going to eventually have to adjust to that new environment, because there's chances are there's things about that environment that his birds are not used to, and eventually they might show signs of it, and he's going to have to deal with it. So, no, that's good.
Yeah, but I mean, his main point here is he's never vaccinated. Yeah. So he is perpetuating a good, healthy, genetic resistant strain. And
so those birds are showing their true potential right there.
Yes.
So the vaccinations and medications aren't hiding the faults or the weaknesses, and he's been culling them along the way. So he's so far good. That's good.
The true test for me would have been if there'd been chickens on that property before, and then he took them there and then not got sick. I said, okay, that's good. But if they've never been chickens on that soil and it's virgin soil, of course they're going to do good. There could be changes, like Kenny was mentioning, with just the environment itself where it's different, they could run into problems. But there shouldn't be a problem as long as there wasn't chickens there and it was virgin soil. They should be fine.
Yeah. So here's a question: is what the modern breeder gets wrong? Okay. Today we have vaccinations, medications, antibiotics, and we have medicated feeds. All things that allow the breeder to keep weak birds around long enough to breed, to produce more offspring that need to be vaccinated, medicated, and use antibiotics on, and that's where we're getting it wrong. I mean, there was a time, let's put it this way. I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down. I had a question. So this is where we have a problem. Back in the olden days, we didn't have all these things. So they had to selectively breed them and cull the sick. Today, it's different. We have a lot of things around like the vaccines and medications and the antibiotics, which has changed the game. Because now we're holding on to birds that should have been culled a long time ago. And because of that, now the birds in general, when you look at all the birds as a whole, are weaker than they've ever been. Because they're so different. They're raised, selected, and bred so differently than they were from 100 to 150 years ago. And to me, that's not going in a good direction. That's just only going to get worse. Because if it gets to a point where we're not able to get the vaccines and the medications and antibiotics, like I said earlier, we're going to find out how strong or how weak our birds actually are. And I'm willing to bet the industry, the gamefowl industry and the chicken industry is going to take a hit, and we're going to find out we don't have the number of birds we thought we had or the quality of birds that we thought we had. And here's where I was going to go with it. We all need to become breeders again because we're really not. I saw something, I don't go too much online, and I was talking to Nancy because Nancy was getting our lunch, and I just happened to start glancing through Facebook real quick. And I saw all these banners on breeding and crossing and how to use certain methods. And the information was 99% wrong. And they're trying to justify that crossing and outcrossing was a good thing, that it actually improves and strengthens our bloodlines. I'm like, no, if you're outcrossing, or infusing of any kind, you don't have a bloodline. So that's hybrid vigor is just another way to hide the mistakes. So when you start actually creating a bloodline from it, you're going to get to a point when you realize how good they actually are, or how strong they are, or how weak they are. And so I just think we need to become breeders again. And one of the things we need to do is breed for resistance.
I said a while back, Kenny, and I solely believe this. If we took and was on this island somewhere, say it like a maximum prison to where no chickens could get in, no chickens could get out, no medications could get in, only what you needed to raise the chickens. In 5 years, there'd be 1% of the breeders left in this world. 1%, maybe 1%. 1%. That would expose all the true breeders right there if we'd done that. But going back 5 years ago, that vaccine you was talking about for the coccidiosis, there was a guy they was posting it all through the groups, him vaccinating that, putting it on the feed, feeding it to the chicks, and it was supposed to have done, I forget how many, for that particular vaccine, I forget how many he said it was, but it was 5 or 6. And people was getting it like it was crazy. And I was thinking, oh my dear God in heaven, that is, if they only knew what they was getting into.
Yeah.
But we have people spreading that information that's pretty much destroying people as breeders. And people is taking their word for it, and putting trust in them. And they do it, and then it's a nightmare at the end of the day. I just wonder, all those people now, if I could talk to them and say, would you go back and do that again if you had the opportunity to do it? And I guarantee you they would say never again.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some people out there that will post a banner and they don't even understand conformation of body. And I feel so bad because you've got some people on there. It's a really nice banner, but you've got some people on there going, "Oh yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, I'm learning. Yes, it's awesome." And it's unfortunate because they're learning
Yeah, like this
what is
one.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hey,
And
I've always said it. If it comes from me, it comes from Kenny, Nancy. I don't care who it is. You have a responsibility to do your own research too, to see if that information is correct. I don't care who the information is coming from. You
Right.
still have a responsibility to research it.
The scary thing is these two banners and some others like it, they're talking about the same thing. This is how people think of confirmation and station. I mean, I've never seen such a thing and it's gaining more and more ground, and people are actually teaching this. People are supposed to be authorities. This is what they're teaching. I mean, I've been meaning to call Tony and say, Tony, have you seen this? See what you think. He'd probably go, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Because
you probably have a heart attack. Don't call him and tell him that.
Because they're losing their understanding. They don't understand the true form and structure of, let's say, American games, for one thing. Okay. They don't understand the true conformation and type of the bird. They don't understand the true carriage of the bird. Now they're being taught that this is what station means, those banners. That's what station means, which is just mixing things up. And I mean, it's amazing. How do I always say this? There's so many people that should know better, should know what they're talking about, are supposed to be authorities, and they completely misunderstand or don't understand the true structure and form of the breed. They understand the purpose for the breed, but they have no idea how those birds are supposed to be properly built. Scary as hell. I cannot believe what I'm seeing.
Think of this though, Kenny. If I show you a silhouette of a thoroughbred and a mule, and I say, which one's a thoroughbred? You're going to look at it automatically and say, that's the thoroughbred.
Yeah.
You're not going to, anybody could. Okay. Anybody could. But you take the same thing and outline it with one with poor conformation, a little bit, nowhere close to being what it's supposed to be in type and conformation, and then put one there beside it. And you still have people say, oh, well, I like the one on the right side that is the poor conformation. Well, there's nothing wrong with that bird. I like that bird. I've had that happen so many, many times. People's like, well, I don't know what you see bad about it because it looks fine. I love that rooster.
Tony and I used to laugh because there was so many people that misunderstood. What would they say? When you asked them how the bird was made, they only talked about one thing. They didn't talk about conformation of type. They talked about station. What was the other thing?
Maybe a wide back.
Station. Station was a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's all they ever knew was station. They didn't understand the type of the bird, the conformation of the bird, or the carriage of the bird. Okay. Then it was a time there when Tony and I were writing for the magazines. We wrote our books and everything. And we started seeing progress when it came to type and conformation. People started getting a better idea of it. Now these two banners pop up, and now it just messed up everything. I just see it all over the place. So there's about 3 guys online that are trying to teach through banners on breeding methods, trying to justify crossbreeding, talking about different methods like inbreeding and line breeding. They totally got it wrong. Scary because they got a big following.
Okay. Proof is in the pudding. Tell us why it's wrong. Pull one up and tell us why it's wrong.
What are you talking about?
Pull up one of the banners and tell us why it's wrong.
I don't have it. Oh, you talking about those other banners?
Yeah, the ones you just pulled up a minute ago.
Well, 90% of the people is going to look at it and they're going to know what's wrong about it.
Okay, the only bird right, for the most part, is the one in the middle, which they call a median station bird. To me, that bird has pretty good type and conformation. Now, look at the high station bird where the legs are way forward and the back is upright like it is. That's just really poor conformation. That's not the way American games should be. And, usually, Nancy, I don't know how to explain this, but just understand that the type of that bird doesn't. Okay, how do I want to say this? I really want to do a whole show on this. But
Well,
if you look
you
at the
brought
one,
it up.
wait, no. If you look at the one in the middle and compare it to the one on the left, does that look right to you? Okay.
I know,
So
but they're calling it high station. Why is that bird not high station?
it has nothing to do with the station. That's a
Well,
carriage problem.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the legs that far forward, it brings the body really upright. That's out of type. That's the wrong type and conformation for the bird, for American games especially. Okay. When you have the one on the back, which is the low station, if you were to have legs that far back, the bird would be out of balance and would fall forward. Okay. So you don't see birds like that. Low station is the comparison between the thigh and the shank, and the thigh should always be longer than the shank, not vice versa. And then have the proper angulation, and it should be under the bird, holding the bird up from the center, meaning that if the legs are where they should be, then the conformation of the bird should be right for that particular breed. Every breed's kind of different. For American games, there's a certain slope to the back. You're not going to get that proper slope if the bird's legs are far forward, like it is on the left, or far back on the right, which means the back would have to be flatter. So every part of that bird, when you look at the type, we always talk about the type where it's the silhouette of the bird. If you were to do a silhouette of the bird, you have the outline of the bird. Every breed out there has a different silhouette, different shape. And if I were to line up like 10 different breeds that were blacked out, I'm willing to bet you could tell me whether it was an Asil, a Shamu, American game, or something like that. Okay, I could line them all up and you could probably tell me. That's the type. That's what represents a breed. The conformation is all its parts in its proper places and proportion. Okay. And then you have the station, which is, like I said, which is the comparison between the thigh and the shank. Thigh is always longer than the shank. Have the proper angulation and be under the body properly to hold the bird up, the way it should. And if the legs are too far forward or too far back, then it changes the conformation. Okay. Then you have the carriage is like what we see here. So I definitely want to do a show on this and to explain it. I wasn't really prepared to do that. My mind's not there right now. But let me see. Here's a good example of poor type conformation. Do any of those birds look good to you? Do they represent their breed? I don't think so. Okay, then How about this? These are the top ones are all high station birds. Do you see any of them where the legs are so far forward it changes the conformation and type?
Well, today's conformation, people thinks the legs ought to be out in front of the bird instead of the center. I've run into that a million times, and I think Chat GTP is the biggest result for it, because a lot of people says no. If you that first one, the last one chart that we just left off of,
yeah.
If they looked at that and you told them to pick out which bird was closest to the confirmation, the one on the station, Kenny, they would pick the very first bird. They would pick that first bird,
and that's a shame.
Yep. And I would put my life savings on it. That 80% of the people would pick that first bird.
Ask yourself, when you're looking at these three birds, which one looks balanced? It's all about balance. You can't tell me the one on the left and the one on the right are balanced. It's the one in the middle. That's the proper type and conformation. That has nothing to do with this station. Okay. Now we go back to this chart here. This is turned into a total conformation and type show.
Oops.
Now you've got the ones on the bottom, which are what I would call low station. Where's their legs? It's not way back.
Right where they're supposed to be.
Right where they're supposed to be. It's just that they're short station birds. Now, the ones on the top, they're high station. The only one I would say where the conformation, the legs are a little too far forward, and you can see it changes the conformation. Is the one, the third one, the second one from the left, or the third one from the right. Okay. To me, that's a really poor conformation. Now, I think all four of those birds have high station, which I don't think is a good thing for any reason.
Too
And I
high.
think the ones on the bottom all have low station, and I don't think they're good for anything. This is kind of that. I guess that's a good example. Let me use a real bird.
But Kenny, even I've got some birds that are they're not high station, but they're medium, more high than medium. They're still tall birds, but they're still, their legs are in center. They're not out in front of them, or it didn't change their conformation. You can have a high station bird and still have good conformation on him.
Yeah. So ask yourself whether they're high, low, or medium. Are they balanced? Because that's all that matters.
In a sense.
Okay. I mean, I like a medium high type of bird. To me, this bird here is a good representative of American game. It's got good type conformation, station, carriage. It's a well-balanced bird. To me, American games should look like this. But we've got this other stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. Here's another banner I put together where birds, forget the color. I'm not worried about the color on these particular pictures. And let me get rid of this. Okay. So these birds, they vary a little bit in their conformation and type, not a whole lot. I mean, if you want it, they're not all identical, but overall they represent their breed when it comes to type and conformation, station, and carriage. I'm not really worried about the color. I wish I saw more birds like this. Okay. Now some are better in color, some are off colors, but I'm more worried about the conformation. So if I'm looking at these birds, what I'm seeing is really good balance, really good conformation type, carriage, station, other things like a nice full proper tail where you have good, what do you call it? Primaries, you have the sickles and the side hangers, and the side hangers are nice and strong and they hold up and they protect the tail. That's kind of what I look for. Okay. The wings are carried at a proper angle. They're covering the thigh like they should. These are all really good birds as far as type and conformation.
Then except for the far right one on the bottom. The guy didn't know what he was doing.
Oh yeah. That thing's awful.
Yeah. It's terrible.
That's Frank's actually. Then you look at these, and you know why I picked these guys is because not just because they're wrong, and they are, and I feel bad for these people, but they post them. Why? Because they're proud of them. And guess what? Everybody confirmed it because they pushed like and loved and asked for baby chicks from them, asked if these were for sale. That's a scary thing.
That one wasn't only squirrel-tailed, it was right-tailed too. Bad.
Yeah. So we have a lot of people who should know better, should be authorities, think they're authorities, helping the youth, the new people, the beginners, and sending them in the wrong direction. So what's happening? This kind of thinking, people are going to start breeding them. They're going to start perpetuating these faults, and they're going to think that's the right bird. And guess what? We're going to lose the breed. Here's a good example. And this is why I'm leery of shows sometimes, especially when the judge doesn't understand the breed. And I've told this one before. I was at a show. I wasn't judging it at the time. It was an APA sanctioned event. The judge who actually judged the show, who I knew by name, bought one of my books because he wanted to kind of educate himself on American games. And I thought it was kind of weird that he bought my book about a week or two before the show. And we went there, and it turned out that he was actually judging the show. A lot of good birds. Some birds were better than others. You know how it goes. But there was one there that everybody was making fun of. Although it had really beautiful plumage. The colors were really awesome. The type, conformation, station, and carriage were completely off. And everybody was making fun of it because it didn't look like American game at all. And why was that bird there? Well, guess what? That judge picked that bird as the winner of the whole thing.
Wow.
And he was really proud and everything. And we're all like, I didn't say much. Everybody's looking at me. What are you going to, Kenny, you going to say something? I'm like, oh, this ain't my thing.
Not my show.
Not my show, And so I actually took the guy's side. I say, hey, I'm not trying to rain on your parade and everything, but I just want to help you out. I know you love your bird. I know it won the show, but I wouldn't breed to it. I wouldn't perpetuate this because it doesn't represent its breed. You're going to end up breeding a whole bunch of these, and you're going to end up wasting your time, money, and all your effort. And I just don't want you to do that. And he was grateful. I go, congratulations, you won the show, but I just wouldn't breed to it because this is not what I would call a good brood, good brood rooster. You're not going to be able to, I wouldn't create a strain from this.
That's the reason I think every judge, regardless if it's a little backyard show, should be certified in game. Whatever birds they're judging, they should be certified in judging those birds. Just not be a judge, but be certified.
Well, part of the problem with American Games too is we don't have a standard of perfection that
we do.
Everybody, but everybody doesn't use the same standard of perfection.
No, what happened was like this one. There's a number of them out there. Bob Lamar did one. Tony and I did one. I helped him do this one. There's a couple others out there. Then you've got Herbert Atkinson's right here. Okay. And there's I don't want to say who it is, but they actually, from what I understand, took all these standards.
He's going to get me started again, Nancy.
Combined them.
Go for it.
And made their own standard because they couldn't just follow Tony's, which is to me the best one out there right now. And they're actually practicing. This is what they're teaching. Where did it go?
Or fix it to where you was doing the opposite on the standard.
This is what they're teaching as far as what the station should be. Okay? They're supposed to be the authority. They're putting on these shows, and guess what? They're going to influence a whole bunch of people to do it wrong. All they had to do is get Tony involved, follow his standard, and they would have been good to go. But no, they don't want to do that. They wanted to create their own standard, had no idea what to talk about. I heard them talk about how they judge and what they look for. They even hired a judge who's only been in chickens for a few years, doesn't even understand the breed, hasn't even had the breed that long himself. Neither one of them was able to explain how to properly judge the birds, what the proper structure and form and structure and color of the bird should be. They couldn't even explain it. And then the only thing they explained was this, which was wrong. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm telling you, it's just frustrating as hell.
Kenny, show that book again.
Which one?
Brian wants to see the book again.
Which one?
The one you got in
Tony's book.
Yeah.
So that
Tony.
he can get one of those.
Okay, so go on Amazon. It's the American Gamefowl Standard by Tony Seville. It's the best one out there. The only gripe I have with it is the pictures. He's using Herbert Atkinson pictures, which were old English games back in the day. Okay, so the pictures don't exactly represent American games, but the information does represent American games. If you want to see what American games should look like, I have a standard in my website, which gives the pictures too, and has pictures like this. These are all drawn for me by Diane Jackie. I know you've probably seen them around by other clubs and everybody else, but they're basically stealing my artwork. They have
got T-shirts with them on it.
Yeah, they're using them on their calendars and all kinds of stuff, but that belongs to me. Those aren't theirs. They didn't ask for my permission, and which makes me lose respect for them when they can steal someone's artwork and they're using it. It makes me not want to support their causes, that kind of thing. So I don't have the other ones on here.
What about the ones though, guys, that do it to give themselves an edge? That's the ones that burn me up.
What do you mean?
That makes a standard to where they're breeding in the right way, but mislead people to breed in the wrong way.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Silver duckling.
Yeah. Oh, that burnt me up. I mean, that really peed me off in the least.
Yeah. I mean, Brian showed us we suffer from that too, Brian, Frank, because we had the understanding, and even Brian said, for the most part, we were right, that once you get red in the silver duckwing, which starts off as a gold duckwing, and then it just becomes leakage. It's really difficult to fix them.
Amen.
But yeah, and most people will never fix them. Okay. Yeah. Because they're always going to have some, what they call autosomal female in it. But if you can find the right hen that has no warmth in her, no warm tones, no reds or nothing, all cool tones, whites and grays in her, then you can fix the silver duckling. You can start working towards getting back to true color. And it turns out that it's like that with most of the breeds. When you're off color, it's the hen's going to get you there, or get you at least close to the right color. And if you understand what those colors are and which hens to select, then chances are you could get there. Okay. But if you don't understand the form and function and what truly represents that breed, you're never going to get there. And there's just so many people acting like authorities that are just messing up people's minds.
I took 5 different hens and put a red cock on each one of them just to test the hens to see what colors they would throw. So that's the levels that you've got to go toward test breeding to see which hen has the highest intensity or the lowest intensity of what you want to do. So I'll say this, of every color that I've ever bred, the grays that I've got has been the hardest in the world to deal with, which I got held back a few years by going by the standard. But now that I know what I'm doing, I've made leaps and bounds in the past 3 years. I mean, just boom, 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 boom.
Well, the problem I have with the standard is sometimes they're wrong, and I can't blame everybody. I didn't know it. Tony never told me it. And I don't think Tony knew either when it came to what the proper hen of a silver duckling should be.
That's what I was breeding.
So I can't blame a lot of the judges, and I can't even blame most of the people on the APA today. This was all done years ago. Okay. So nobody knew, but Brian knew, and he was right. He was right on the money. Okay. And so some of the things that are in the standard shouldn't be in the standard. But a lot of people let's say the APA, for instance, wouldn't know that they shouldn't be in the standard. But I will say this, between some of the colors that are just wrong, because they're using the wrong hen in the standard to actually perpetuate and improve the breed or keep it going. They should have had a different hen in those standard. But I'm talking about the breeds that need to be double mated to get the right colors. Those should have never been in the standard. But I understand if they didn't do that, they wouldn't have very many birds in the standard because,
True.
So I actually think they should be true, that you should be able to breed the cock and hen. They should replicate themselves. They should be able to reproduce their own kind, both in conformation and color. And a lot of times we're not seeing that. Okay. So that's my beef,
And Tony's book was written over 20 years ago now.
2006.
2006.
Yeah,
okay,
I've got 2 copies
we're
of it.
coming up on 20 years, and so his silver duckling hen may be wrong in the book.
Wrong.
I don't know.
It is wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong.
It's got the salmon breast like the other one we was
See, he
talking
didn't know.
about.
He didn't know either.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we
a
all
lot of
thought
us-
that. We all thought that.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing: why is Brian right and everybody else is wrong?
I don't know.
Here's why. Here's why. Because he did 20 years of research on all this stuff. And he did experiment after experiment,
Well,
breeding
Nancy,
thousands of birds.
the thing wasn't that they didn't know. They done it intentional to where they could win all the shows.
Yes.
So that made it even worse. If it was a mistake, I'm a very forgiving person. I mean, we all make mistakes. We all make, mistakes every day. But when you do it intentionally to undermine the people to where they'll go in a different direction, my birds was getting more golden every year. They was getting more red tint to them every year. And out of desperation, I said, listen, I went this way. I'm not trying it this way. I'm going to go this way. So I went back to the other hens, and automatically the first year I said, that's where I've been messing up.
Well, I've been working with Brian for like good 3 years now, maybe going on 4. And we have over 40 hours of video inside the Breeders' Academy of him just spelling it out when it came to, genetics and inheritance and how to create the colors that you want and how to improve on the colors, even how to create your own colors. And so if you really want to understand color genetics or any genetics, I believe the answers are inside the Breeders' Academy. I would also like to, where's his book? He's got 2 books. Okay. Great books, but as good as they are, I think they're better with the videos that he did with us. If you watch the videos and compare with the information in here, it's like a master's class, like I've never seen, because he pretty much outlines the information in the books in the videos, but I say get the books. Even if you get the videos and you watch the videos, get the books.
And his podcast too.
Yeah, he has he doesn't have a podcast yet. He's got a new YouTube channel. So he's going to be coming out with a lot of information. He's still working with me too. So make sure to do that. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about that right now.
We do have 4 questions started, and I promised people that I would get
Okay,
to those
let
questions.
me just sum up what we were talking about on disease resistance, how to build a disease resistant strain step by step. Let me just cover these, and then we can move on to the questions. First of all, start with the healthiest bird you own. Keep a closed yard. Provide good nutrition, environment, and management. Expose birds naturally to disease pressures in your area. Cull every bird that becomes sick. Never breed to medicated birds. Select only from the birds that never get sick. Repeat this multiple generations. Protect your strain through strong biosecurity. Breed and select for the complete package. Never sacrifice other important traits. I think we covered all of those pretty well in this show, which is impressive, actually.
All 15. We hit at least some on all 15 of them.
Yeah.
I was looking over them, and I don't think we missed one of them that we didn't touch on.
Yeah. So I'm really happy. Those are your main points. Write those down, take notes, and follow this. I think you're going to be happy. It'll get you away from the medications, start breeding to the birds that are healthy. Okay, let's answer some of the questions so we can get the heck out of here.
Okay, so real quick, I want to get your permission to download your video and cut, and I will put your channel at caption in order to help Philippine breeders. So what I was telling him and what Sue was telling him is basically go to YouTube and look up Bred to Perfection, and you will see that video there.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, that's where he's at right now.
Yes.
He's got to be there. So, yeah, just
he was wanting a link, but he'll have that.
Yeah. As soon as this finished downloads, take that link, share it to whoever you want. And do it soon, because these videos are only on YouTube for a short period of time. Now we're doing 2 shows a week. They're going to be on there on even less time, because I only keep about 20 videos on at a time. Oldest one gets archived onto the Breeders' Academy. So watch it soon. Do it soon, because it's not going to be there forever.
All right. So I have a winter broodcock, and it's a mongrel. And what is the best way to purify his bloodline?
The Founders Program, which is on the Breeders' Academy.
Join the Breeders' Academy, and it's step by step, walk you through it. And pretty much there's no trouble. All the troubleshooting's done. If you have a problem, coaching calls, there's no problem with it.
Yep. It's a 3-phase, 6-stage program, fully laid out for you with videos, illustrations. Like Frank said, if you have any problem, you can get a coaching call with us. I do coaching calls every Wednesday. You're going to love it. It's the simplest but most effective breeding program out there. I'll stand by it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you're wanting to create a family from any pair, that's what you need to do right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sunny's asking, how can I apply the Founders Program for my land race project?
Start with the Adam and Eve and work your way through the program.
Yeah. Start from it's like this, Kenny. We tell a lot of people, they say, well, I bought this, supposed to be already true family from these people. I bought a trio here, there, this and that. I don't care how pure they are. I'm not going to take somebody's word for it. Even if you've got them off me or Kenny one, I still recommend you to start from the beginning and go through and create them that way.
Yep.
Are you saying disease is made by bad genes?
Good question.
The willingness of the genetic weakness of bad health. Yes.
I won't say bad genes, but it's lacking the good genes.
Yeah. And with health, it's many.
Yeah, because look at it this way. Disease resistance isn't a gene, it's multiple genes. It's polygenic, it's quantitative. It's not qualitative, it's quantitative. So it means selecting the birds with the best and highest intensity for health and resistance. Keep doing that generation after generation, and by culling the sick and breeding to the highest intensity, and eventually you'll get there. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take many generations to get there, but you start hiding the whatever diseases you're dealing with vaccinations and medications and supplements and all that kind of thing, then you're just hiding it. You won't be selecting them properly and you'll never get there.
And you destroyed your immune system on your whole flock.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean is saying, I know a guy trying to grade Peruvians down to get showbirds. Wouldn't he lose the hybrid vigor after the first generation? I think he wants to try to improve the station on his birds.
Hybrid vigor is a one-time deal. It's not inheritable, not past a generation. So the following generation after that, he would lose it anyways. If he's trying to improve them, he just needs to pick the best birds he has from that, let's say, figure out which one his Adam and Eve is and follow the founders program, and he'll build a strength.
All right.
You can improve or fix or enhance or pass hybrid vigor. It's at
its max the first generation.
Yeah.
Downhill battle from there.
Yep. Hybrid birds are the product. They don't improve strains. They ruin strains.
Now,
but you can't pick an Adam and Eve from it and build a strain from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Run them through the founders program and make your own from that individual bird and a hen to mate with.
Yep. So,
closing thoughts?
What do you say, Frank?
I say I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Well,
wait. Did we create enough hate and discontent today?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Because you know what? Nancy's going to kill me because we were driving home from getting lunch and I saw a banner on Facebook, which I hardly ever go to. And I said, look at this crap. Can you believe what they're saying here? And then I stroll a little more. Here's another one. There was about 3 different people passing this crap on people with a huge following. And Nancy goes, I don't want you thinking of this stuff when we're doing a show because you're gonna rant and rave and cause all kinds of trouble. I go, no, I won't. Trust me. So
hey,
she's gonna kill me when I get off here.
I just go right by it. And when Kenny gets up in an uproar about that, I've got one thing to say. I say straight stick, and he just
I know.
right down.
Yep.
So,
that's
my antidote for Kenny's upset mood.
We try
straight stick.
Where's it at? But here's the thing. You can go ahead and bring it up, Kenny. They can hear me still. Here, now I forgot what I was going to say.
This is our motto. This is what we try to follow, which I fail from time to time. Okay.
The best way to show that a stick is crooked is not to argue about it or to spend time denouncing it, but to lay a straight stick alongside it.
Yeah, thank you for reading that for me.
That's our motto. That's what we stick by. That's what I live by right there.
That's what we try to, I just kind of falter every now and then.
No, I have to explain why Kenny falters now and then. One, he's not perfect. Sorry. No, it's because he is so passionate about teaching. And when he sees people learning and believing in passages that are wrong and he knows the right, it infuriates him that he can't get out to the masses. So here, guys, this is a call to action to you. For those of you that have not subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell so that you never miss an episode. Because look at this. We were only supposed to go an hour, and here we're going to come up on almost 2 hours. Now, that's 2 hours that I have to edit, guys, but it's okay. And then in 2, for those of you that haven't joined the Breeders Academy yet, make sure you do so. Make it a Christmas present. Make it a Thanksgiving present, a present to you. Okay. Because you will not be disappointed in the Breeders program. Just ask some of the people here that are our members, because there's a lot of them here in the chat room that are members of the Breeders Academy.
Can I say this real quick?
Yes.
Because it just dawned on. Okay. I was looking at the stats. We've been up and running for almost 10 years now. Frank, do you know we've taught, we always maintain right around 300 members all the time. We've taught over 1,000 members.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
We've had over 1,000. I think it's like 1,200 members
within that
We
time.
always maintain about 300 people come and go. Some people come back, but we always average right around 300 members. But we've taught like over 1,000 members.
I didn't think we'd last this long, to tell you the truth about it. What is it?
No, I'm talking about the Breeders' Academy. Actually.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about even with this. I didn't even think it would last that long. I had no idea.
Poor Frank. Oh my God, it's 5 years now, and they're still not
done. Do another
done?
year of this.
Holy crap!
I think it's either 5 or 6. I lost count.
Well,
Yeah,
started in
it's getting up there.
2020.
Yeah,
Right
we're going
after,
yeah.
right
So it's gonna be
before
on 6
COVID.
years. Yep.
Yeah,
It's gonna
going
be
on
coming
6.
up 6 years. January will be 6 years then.
Isn't
Okay,
that
well
amazing?
here's a gift to you, Frank. You're going to get another week off because
Oh,
we
yeah.
are not having any shows on Monday, or any shows. We are not having a show on Monday, and we are not having a show on
We're
Friday.
taking
We are
Thanksgiving
taking
week off.
Thanksgiving week
I had
off.
it wrote down. Down. To
Did you
ask.
really?
Yeah, I had it wrote down to ask if it was going to be on that week. But I'm going to be like Kenny during that week. I'm going to be in food coma, so it wouldn't be a good idea to do the show then.
Yeah, we decided we're going to take a week off. I'm still working. I've got a class I've got to class I have to outline and record, and I'm running out of time. So, but I have some things on the website I want to do too. So yeah, won't be doing a show next week.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Yes, but we will be back on December 1st. Is that right?
Yeah.
Absence
December
makes the heart
1st.
grow fonder.
Yeah. And we'll make sure that we get notifications out to you guys so that you don't forget. And we hope that you all have a absolute wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Do lots of shopping, Christmas shopping, and eat lots of food.
And if you can, show up tomorrow in Paris, California. Is it Paris Valley? I don't know. At
Paris Lake.
Paris Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And come meet us. Talk with us. Yeah. And if
Yeah,
we got one planned for December the 6th in Knoxville. We're going to that one.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Yeah, we've not went to one in a long time, so I said we're going to one here.
Film it.
Well, we will. We'll have plenty
Okay,
of pictures.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Make sure you film it. And if you guys are serious about wanting to come see us tomorrow up at Paris at the chicken show, and you need the address, just go back to Monday's show. It's right there for you.
Go on my Facebook page. All the information's on my Facebook page.
That too.
Or watch
That
the
works
show
too.
from Monday. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Great questions. Great comments. Good show, Frank.
Yep. Good show. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
We'll see you guys in a week.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.